Good morning, Miss Kisha A. Brown. It's so nice to meet with you today. Thank you for taking the time to connect with me. I'm really excited to talk to you today. Welcome to Leaders Talk Communications and happy Friday. Thanks so much for being here with me.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, so Leaders Talk Communications is my gift to CEOs and other leaders um, to hear from other folks like you how you're managing communications, what your business biggest successes, your biggest challenges are, how you've overcome them, where you thrive. And I do that so that leaders can gain insight from you about how you're managing communications and so that they can be informed and maybe inspired to reimagine or feel validated in the way that they're managing communications. So I'm just going to jump right in. Tell us about your work. Tisha is, oh my God, Kisha. I was thinking about Teana, who introduced us. Kisha is the founder and CEO of Justice Connection, and it just seems like beautiful work, and I can't wait to hear all about it. So tell us about your work and what inspires you the most about what you do.
Hmm. Cool. Thanks for that question. So Justice Connection is the first Black attorney referral network in the country. It is all about connecting people to solid legal counsel, right? And for me, justice is my jam, right? Like I see the world through the lens of justice, if you will. And so being able to sort of leverage that instinct, that perspective, and create a platform that really helps foster connection so people can get the legal support that they need and deserve.
Okay. What inspired you to create Justice Connection?
Yeah, from the minute I started law school, really, I had people asking like, "Hey, do you know somebody does this? Do you know somebody does bankruptcy? Do you know somebody does business? Do you know somebody does family law?" Right? And your instinct is to be like, "Sure," and you want to make that personal connection. You want to keep it in the family, and so I'm thinking, who do I text or email or try to find out what such and such is doing? And I realized that we as Black people did not have a concerted network to connect people to, right? That to
Mm-hmm,
allow
mm-hmm.
for a one-stop shop, if you will, to be able to connect with someone who looks like you, who can help you with everything from a merger and acquisition for your business to doing an estate plan for your family, or helping you out in a car accident situation. And so I was inspired by just really over time people asking me for a lawyer, a legal connection, legal help, and saying, I'm going to build this network that I wish always existed.
Oh, wow. And why do you think it's particularly important for Black folks to have Black attorneys and Black legal support?
Yeah, it's quite frankly a very natural synergy, right? So Black lawyers are living the same Black experience as everybody else, right? And so there is an understanding, not only that cultural competence, Jennifer, right, but the ability to understand and empathize and visualize the experience that Black people face in America, because they themselves have undergone it as well, right? So you take that Black
Mm-hmm.
experience, that cultural competency, and you pair it with amazing legal, academic, and insight, and you put that together, and it's just a powerhouse for Black people. And you think
Yeah.
about situations where you could be on the job and someone's doing microaggressions around, can I touch your hair, and oh, look how big it is, and whatever, look what kind of texture. And that might not be something that somebody else says, oh, what's the big deal? Oh, so they have to touch your hair every day. What's the matter? Just tell them no, right? But the
Yeah.
experience as a Black person and being the other and being isolated or being paid differently or treated differently, those things are very real, right? And I
Yeah.
think we also have to be really honest about who wants to see you win, because you need to have people on your team who want to see you win, who aren't just another paycheck, right? You're another paycheck for them, or it's a transaction, but who you look like their cousin. You go to the same church. You're in the same fraternity or sorority. You come from the same community. You have similar memories about Thanksgiving at your grandma's house, whatever it is, because there's so many different,
Yeah.
right, that connect us, that those things are important to help us develop the comfort and the confidence in when we are picking the right legal counsel.
Oh, wow. So I imagine that, um, I guess what I'm thinking about as you speak is representation matters.
Hello. I could
Yeah.
have just said it that way as opposed to my whole monologue, but
No, that was beautiful, and it is important that we have affinity and connection to the people who are serving us and that we feel comfortable. Doesn't mean that other people can't serve us, but there is a particular importance and weight to working with people who do understand our shared and life experiences. I
yeah.
totally, yeah, I get it. So I imagine that in your work, Keisha, you work with different stakeholders. You're communicating with different folks all the time. You've got the lawyers that you're working to get into Justice Connection. You've probably got the people that you mentioned earlier who are seeking you for support. Where do you feel you thrive
Hmm.
as the founder and CEO of Justice Connection in connecting with them, and even with your staff? I've seen that you got a small but mighty staff. Where do you feel you thrive in connecting with your employees, with the lawyers? Maybe you're still taking on clients. We didn't talk about that. I don't know if you're still taking on clients in your work. Where do you feel you thrive in connecting with the stakeholders who are important to the success of Justice Connection?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think for me, one of the most mutually impactful communications come when I'm speaking to the public about the importance of legal counsel. Because there's usually
Mm.
this breakthrough moment, if you will, Jennifer, where there's like this aha, right? Where
Oh,
we,
really? In what way?
oftentimes, I think as Black people, we have become accustomed to thinking of the law as an adversary, something that we are on
Uh,
the defensive to, something that we react to, but not something that we proactively utilize to leverage to ensure that we are made whole, that
I
we are
see.
secure,
Hmm.
right? Using the law
Yeah,
to our advantage, and quite frankly, for the way the law was intended to be used, right? So that it is protecting you, it is your servant, not your master, like the great James Baldwin said. And so when I speak to the public about the importance of legal counsel, how you can afford legal counsel, what you use legal counsel for, whether you're a business owner or not, there tends
mhm,
to be this shift that happens with mindset, with understanding, and with the ability to then sort of envision themselves navigating through the world differently, having this type of resource. So
I
that's one of
see.
my most favorite, because I think that is
Yeah.
a special sweet spot that I sort of have landed in, if you will, in building Justice Connection. So
There's
being
an
the
educational component to your work
yes,
then with
yeah.
those folks. Yeah, yeah. And what about with the lawyers? Like where do you so you feel you thrive in that educational piece component and helping folks understand the importance of legal representation
Yeah,
and
I
breaking
do.
down the
And I think
barrier for them.
for the lawyers, it's different, right? I think it's
Yeah.
it's it's two sides of the same coin, but it's just a different side, right? And I
Yeah.
honestly think on that side, it is um somewhat motivational, if you will, being a
Oh,
cheerleader, someone who reminds them of their purpose, their positioning, their power, and the importance that they play in Black communities, and quite frankly for our entire country. Right? No
yeah.
major change has happened without Black people being at the forefront of it. And lawyers, Black lawyers, are critical for those changes, right? We know the law, we can interpret the law, we understand our different types of analytical mind allows us to be excellent thought partners. And so being able to be that cheerleader for Black lawyers to say, we need you, right? Our people
Mm,
cannot
mhm.
find you. We need to think about how we can do things differently, and how we develop institutions like Justice Connection that support Black lawyers so that we're more discoverable and accessible, especially to our people. So I
Yeah.
enjoy speaking to the lawyers too and being like, you're amazing, let's do this, come on.
That really speaks so much to what I saw on your website, that Justice Connection is passion led and purpose driven. And I saw that, first of all, I love the alliteration with all the E values on your site.
I love a good
But
alliteration. You heard I've done
I
did at least 20 since we've been talking. I will find an alliteration one way or the other.
I was particularly curious about evaluate. Um, I think you said something like we survey and study the experiences that Black people have in the legal system. In the world of strategic communications, understanding like that research and evaluation component of communications planning is so important. Like understanding your target audiences, understanding their needs, understanding what drives them, understanding the issues they face,
Mhm.
understand what wakes them, keeps them up at night, wakes them up in the morning. So I'm curious about that evaluate piece for Justice Connection. What does that look like in kind of the real world? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think we don't know a lot about how the Black experience plays itself out in the legal realm, right? We think about sometimes, first and foremost, the criminal aspect of it, right? The criminal system. And we think that that's the only area of the law, or at least that's what media and society might try and broadcast, that that is our dominant role in the legal system and where we interplay with it. And that's not the case. Criminal
Mhm.
inquiries are not our most numerous legal requests, lawyer requests, right? And so, really being able to take a look at what are some of the pain points of Black people in dealing with the legal system? What are some of their experiences? Who is engaging in the legal system from the Black community, right? Like, is it
Mhm.
men? Is it women? Are they make a lot of money, a little money? What part of the country are they in, right? All these different things that matter around
Yeah.
how we can, one, as a legal community, also serve the Black community. Like, where are we? What are we looking to do? What do we need? And I know that there's a huge, as you mentioned before, educational component.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although we as Black people have been using the law proactively since the minute we got to this country, right? Like, before we knew anything, before we had a Black lawyer, Black people always took their grievance to the court and used it as a tool to advance our own
That's
liberation.
true.
Right? And so
Yeah.
it is also about continuing that legacy and taking that to the next level.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it all definitely fits in with the need from a communications perspective to understand who you're trying to reach and who you're trying to support. Thank
Yeah.
you for that. And so you do you do surveys? How do you study and survey? Do you do you have access to like the folks who have asked you for some legal support, those kinds of clients who are in the system, are you surveying them? Are you how are you gathering your information?
Yeah. So most of the surveys that we do are directed at the people who have asked for a lawyer, right?
Mhm,
Or
mhm.
those people who have proactively subscribed to our newsletter, and we'll happy to share
Mm,
all the details of that. And we're not here to pry. We must maybe like we do like maybe one or two surveys, but it is
yeah,
important to know what is your interest, right? Are you
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I heard about this estate planning, is that the same as a will? And what do I do with
yeah,
that? Let us
yeah,
know
yeah,
so that we can begin
yeah.
to provide very specific legal information to help educate and inform you so that when you're ready to hire an attorney, right, you're sort of better prepared.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeah, so when you're gathering insights on what people are really looking for in the legal system, it also helps you with Justice Connection seek out that support for them in the Black legal community. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about a little bit about challenges. We all face communications challenges in our business life, with our business, when we're communicating with folks. What would you say is one of your biggest communications challenges? And how did you handle it?
Yeah. Um, well, there's lots of communications challenges. I
Yeah,
don't think, we
yeah,
talk enough your point around those. The communication challenges are um front and center, I think, for most businesses, and we think
yeah,
of it as marketing or sales, right? These catch-all terms, when it's really mostly about like how are we communicating, right? Well, how are
mhm,
we connecting, and both external and internal, right? You got to know who you're talking to
right,
and
right,
accordingly, right? And understand what's important, and what are the triggers. And I think especially for serving, a Black community in America, we are not a monolith, right? Like we
Mhm.
talk about it as if we are, and there's some things that we have incredible um, um, elements that bind us, right, culturally as a people. But we're still different human beings, right, all put together. And so how you
Yeah.
communicate, I think, is so critical. And I think one of the most defining um, attributes that sort of dictate communication, I actually think is around generations, right? It's the
Mm.
generational divide or the generational differences, if you will. So between a
Oh,
baby boomer and a Gen Xer and a millennial and a Gen Zer and even Gen Alpha, right? Like those, to me, the communication is very different for all those
yeah.
different generations.
The silence. My mom is in this part of the silent generation.
Generation, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm.
So is the challenge then figuring out how to effectively communicate to those different audiences from a generational perspective?
Yeah, and I think it's knowing that you gotta switch how you communicate for each
Yeah.
generation. So it could be the same
Yeah.
message,
Yeah.
you better communicate it differently. Otherwise, you can isolate one from the other or disinterest one from the other. And that can be hard if you're, on a social platform. It's not like you can be like, okay, if you're a millennial, don't look at this. We're not talking to you, right?
Yeah, but you can do it with email marketing. You can do it with email marketing.
If you
And
know
and you
the process, right? If you
yeah,
know
exactly.
categorize people that way. That's
Yeah,
true.
you can do it with email, you can do it with social, but just by the way that you position your
Mhm,
posts. I love
mhm.
that. That's such yeah, so many organizations are challenged with multi-generational workforces and how to communicate effectively. Um, I have clients who have employees who are multi-generational, and I think it is not out of the realm of truth to say that um, Gen Zers want more high touch feedback and support. I'm a Gen Xer. We kind of just get on with things, although everybody likes feedback and support. So yeah, no, that's great. That is a challenge. How are you handling it? How are you working to overcome it?
I think, always trying to be a student of really being
Mm.
observant of, especially the younger generations, right? Who are, um, you're encountering more and more, and they themselves are evolving somewhat as well. So being really observant and
Yeah,
in real time having to like sort of see, learn, acknowledge. Acknowledgement is, I think, a really big part of it. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to like it, right? It doesn't have to
yeah,
be a
yeah,
jam, but I do have to acknowledge that this is how this person shows up, or this is how this
yeah.
receives
I,
information.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, and being a student and also just kind of recognizing that people should be treated with dignity and respect and met where they are is a huge part of it. So thank you for that. What's been the most successful vehicle, whether it's we talked a little bit about social and email. What's been the most successful vehicle that's allowed you to communicate as a CEO with different stakeholders?
That's a great question. Um, as far as social media platforms go, I would say LinkedIn. That's the one that I
Mm,
like the most. I can get on LinkedIn and be like, "Dun, dun, dun, bum, bum," right? And
yeah.
I'm always on LinkedIn, like, hey, you seem amazing. Do you want to be my new bestie? Right? Like, why not? Come on over here.
Yeah.
Right. So I like to use LinkedIn that way and really just see all the other things that people are saying and doing and collaborations. I love it. I really do. I think that so I utilize it to just sort of I'll be in somebody's DMs in a heartbeat, like
No.
you are
I'm the same. I love LinkedIn. I think it's such a wonderful platform, and there is an ethos and a level of professionalism that I think is has been maintained on LinkedIn that I just really appreciate. I just noticed my friend Danielle is here. Hi, Danielle. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. So my final question for you, the time always just flies by so quickly, but if you could wave your magic wand,
yeah.
what would you want the world to understand most deeply about you or the work that you're doing at Justice Connection?
That is I was not prepared for that question, girl. That is a that's an awesome question. If I could have a magic wand and share what is most passionate and deep for what I want the world to know about myself and just
Yeah.
um that for me, I mean, you said it, it's on my website that I'm very purpose driven, right? That I believe that this is an assignment that God has given me to do. And so
Yeah.
I honestly wake up every day trying to do my best and doing my
Mm.
best for my people. There
Yeah.
was this black owned bookstore and clothing. It was like really a clothing company in Brooklyn, New York, back in the 90s, right? And the early 2000s. And they had this shirt that I remember, I wish I kept, and it says, all I do is trying to make my people proud, right? And
Mm.
it really resonated with me, and it still does to this day because I bought it like a long time ago, and I still
Yeah.
remember it. But it is. I think there's so much around walking in your purpose, being in alignment with what you feel like your spirit is calling you to do,
Yeah.
and I never consider myself someone who was an entrepreneur or an innovator
Mm.
or who likes hard things. I don't like hard things. I want easy things. It's not. It's not easy, right? Like,
At least some of it has to be easy, right?
well, some of it is it's natural, right? It comes to you very naturally. So a lot of what I do comes to me very naturally, but it is a challenge, right? To go through new terrain and new levels and new understanding and try stuff that works and stuff that doesn't. And so
Yeah.
if I had a magic wand, just to let my people know that I'm on their side and working my butt
Mm.
off to try and build something for us, by us, that I believe that we so desperately need and deserve.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, your purpose and your passion, like, just is oozing through the screen at me right now, and I think it's so important for us to figure out what we're meant to do, and it sounds like you found your purpose and your passion. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Keisha. I really appreciated, speaking with you today. Danielle, thanks for joining us. And yes, LinkedIn is a great platform. And yes, she says she's met a lot of folks through the amazing platform. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend, and we have to stay in touch.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate you and your leadership.
Okay, thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.